It was a warm summer evening in July of 1997. The county fair had just arrived in Millersfield, a small town tucked away in central Iowa, the kind of place where everybody knew everybody and nothing ever really changed. For the Carter family, that night was meant to be magical. Cotton candy, carnival games, twinkling lights, and a fireworks show the local kids waited all year for. 6-year-old Emily Carter, wide-eyed and full of life, wore her favorite red dress and clutched a balloon in one hand. Her mother, Dana, and father, Mike, were just a few steps behind her as they weaved through the crowd. But in a matter of seconds, she was gone. It started with something small. Emily saw something. A sparkle? A balloon? A doll at a booth? No one knew for sure. One moment, her laugh echoed through the summer air. The next, her balloon was floating up into the night sky, and Emily was nowhere to be found. They searched the grounds for hours. Police were called. The fair was shut down. Helicopters flew overhead. Flyers were posted in every corner of the county. The story made regional headlines, but no trace of Emily was ever found. And so, the Carters buried an empty coffin 2 months later, with only her favorite teddy bear inside. Years went by, then decades. Mike Carter died of a heart attack in 2011, never recovering from the guilt of looking away, even if just for a second. Dana moved out of Millersfield, quietly disappearing into a small town in Wisconsin, never speaking Emily's name aloud again. Emily Carter became a ghost, a face on a milk carton, a folder in a cold case drawer, and a wound the town never healed from. Until 2023, 26 years later, in a town hundreds of miles away in Colorado, a young couple named Lena and Jared Thompson were helping clear out an old farmhouse that belonged to Jared's late great-uncle. They were sorting through dusty boxes when Lena stumbled on something strange, an old leather-bound photo album, brittle with age and yellowing at the edges. She opened it, flipping past family reunions, baby showers, picnics. Then she stopped. There, tucked inside a page labeled 2004 Idaho Family Picnic, was a photograph of 10 people seated at a large wooden table. It was nothing unusual, except for one face. A girl, maybe 12 or 13, wearing a red headband, looking directly into the camera. And her face, it was hauntingly familiar. Emily Carter. Lena didn't know why, but she couldn't stop staring. That face, it tugged at something. That look in the eyes. As if the girl in the photo wanted to say something. As if she knew she'd been captured. She Googled missing girl in red dress. And within minutes, her blood ran cold. There she was. Emily Carter. Millersfield, Iowa. 1997. Vanished at the county fair. Same eyes. Same smile. Just older. Lena sat in silence, heart racing. "This can't be a coincidence," she whispered. The photo was dated 2004, taken in Idaho, a place neither Jared nor his family had any known connections to. How did a girl who vanished in Iowa end up in a family album from Idaho 7 years later? Lena and Jared contacted local police. At first, their tip was brushed off. But when they sent in the photo and pointed out the resemblance, it caught the attention of Detective Carla Rains, a seasoned investigator who had worked on reopened cold cases before. Carla pulled up the Emily Carter file, one she remembered from years ago, back when she was a rookie. She laid the photo side by side with a digitally aged rendering of what Emily would have looked like in 2004. It was nearly identical. As the investigation unfolded, more pieces emerged. A social worker named Ruth Delgado, now retired, came forward after seeing the resurfaced image on a news segment. She remembered a girl fitting that description, taken in by a foster mother in Idaho around 2003. The girl's name had been Eliza May. She was quiet, startled by loud noises, afraid of men in uniform, and she always clutched an old teddy bear with initials EC on the tag. At the time, Eliza claimed to not remember anything before the age of 6. There were no fingerprints on record. No one thought to link her to any national missing persons database. By 2007, she had moved again, vanished from the system. The foster mother who took her in, a woman named Clara Hutchins. She had lost her own daughter in a tragic house fire in the early 90s, just 4 years before Emily Carter disappeared. Clara had never remarried, never had another child, and she had spent several years after her daughter's death working at traveling carnivals, including the one that stopped in Millersfield, Iowa, in July of 1997. Now, Clara was gone. She died in 2016, buried in Idaho, alone. But what she left behind, a house full of journals, photos, and VHS tapes, might be the key to unlocking everything. In one of the VHS tapes, found buried in a box marked Eliza's 10th birthday, the girl from the photo appears again, singing, laughing, and at the end, she blows a kiss to the camera and says, "Thank you for finding me, Mommy." Detective Carla Raines hit pause. The girl on screen looked directly at the camera. Same smile, same eyes, and on her wrist was a bracelet, one made from red string and white beads, the exact bracelet Emily's mother had made for her the day she vanished. Carla immediately filed a request to cross-reference foster care documents, but many of the records had been lost in a flood. There was only one possible lead left, a hospital intake record from 2003 in Boise, Idaho, where a young girl matching Eliza's description was brought in for a minor injury. She had no legal guardian listed, only a temporary caretaker named C. Hutchins. The girl's blood was drawn, and the results had been logged under a closed identifier. If they could access that file, they could get DNA. And if they got DNA, they could prove whether Eliza was Emily. But there was one problem. The file was sealed under a confidential system code, and accessing it would require a court order and the cooperation of a facility that no longer exists. So now, the truth hangs in limbo, tied to a forgotten record, a sealed vial of blood, and the last known image of a girl who may have finally been found after 26 years. But is it really her? And if so, why didn't she ever try to reach out? Why didn't she run? And what exactly did Clara Hutchins tell her about her past? In a small office tucked away in Des Moines, Iowa, Detective Carla Raines sat motionless, staring at a fax printout in her hand. It was from the State Medical Archive, a facility long shut down but whose digital backup servers had just been recovered during a routine audit. It contained a fragment of a document she never thought she'd see. Patient ID number 30729, blood type O+, female, age 12. Admitted August 2003. Guardian, Clara Hutchins. Attached to the file was a DNA sample registry code. It matched the one in Emily Carter's original case file, one that had remained dormant for over 2 decades. It was a match. After 26 long years, Eliza May, the girl in the photograph, the girl who blew out birthday candles in the VHS tape, was Emily Carter. Carla placed the report gently on the desk and made a call. The phone rang twice before Dana Carter, Emily's mother, picked up. She didn't speak at first, just breathed heavily into the receiver. Carla had made this call in her head 1,000 times, but nothing could have prepared her for what she was about to say. "Dana, we found her." Silence. And then a cry. Not one of joy. Not yet. It was the sound of someone exhaling 26 years of grief. Dana dropped the phone. The neighbors heard her screaming before she collapsed onto the kitchen floor. Emily Carter, her baby girl, was alive. But there was still one problem. Emily didn't know. You see, the girl who had lived her entire life as Eliza May had grown up believing one story, a version carefully crafted by a woman who was grieving, broken, and desperate. Clara Hutchins had told her that she was rescued from an abusive family, that her real parents had died in a car crash, that everything before the age of 6 was a nightmare best forgotten. She even kept photos, doctored, modified, carefully placed to create the illusion of a past that never truly existed. And to Emily, that lie had become her truth. The detectives approached Emily carefully. She was now 32 years old, a teacher, engaged, living a modest life just outside Seattle. She had no criminal record, no memories of Iowa, no connection to Millersfield. When shown a photo of her original parents, she looked confused. "I don't know these people," she whispered. But then came the locket. The red string bracelet was long gone. But inside Clara's belongings had been a locket with a photo of young Emily and her parents, taken just weeks before the fair. When Emily opened it and saw her 6-year-old self smiling up at her, she froze. Her fingers trembled. Her eyes widened. "I've seen this before," she said, voice barely a whisper. "In dreams. I thought it was just a dream." With gentle therapy and DNA confirmation, Emily began to accept a painful, beautiful truth. She had not been abandoned. She had not been rescued. She had been stolen. When Dana Carter finally met her daughter, the one she buried in her heart 26 years earlier, she collapsed into her arms and didn't let go for several minutes. "I never stopped waiting," Dana whispered. "I never knew someone was waiting," Emily replied, tears soaking her mother's shoulder. They cried. They held hands. They laughed through sobs. It was not perfect. It would take time. But it was real. And it was healing. But just when everyone thought the story had reached its final chapter, Detective Carla received a call. It was from an old case archivist, someone digging into unrelated missing child cases from the late 1990s. He had been cross-referencing photos recovered from Clara Hutchins' storage unit. Dozens of them, some labeled, others not. One photo stood out, a blurry shot of a little boy, standing next to Clara's car, holding the same teddy bear Emily had when she vanished. Only, the photo was dated 2001, and the boy wasn't Emily. Carla enlarged the photo. In the corner, barely visible, was the outline of another child, possibly 4 or 5 years old. Curly hair, sad eyes. The archivist sent it with a note. "This child has not yet been identified. No records found." The photo was recovered from a box marked "for later." Was it possible that Clara Hutchins didn't stop with Emily? Was it possible that Emily wasn't the only one? In the weeks following the emotional reunion between Emily Carter and her mother, Dana, investigators thought the story had finally found peace. Emily was home, a stolen childhood, reclaimed. But beneath the surface, the story was only just beginning. Because Clara Hutchins, the woman who took Emily, may have been hiding far more than anyone suspected. The box recovered from Clara's off-site storage unit was marked in thick black ink, "for later." Inside were 23 VHS tapes, 14 undeveloped rolls of film, dozens of handwritten letters, and a ledger. The ledger was the first red flag. It listed dates and locations from 1994 to 2006, alongside what appeared to be children's initials, estimated ages, and short notes. Some read, "Quiet, withdrawn, allergic to peanuts, left unattended at fairground, cries at night, won't say name," and one note in particular sent chills down Carla Rain's spine. "Third found in parking lot near St. Paul. Took photo. Eyes just like hers." Until now, everyone believed Clara's actions were the result of a tragic obsession. A grieving mother who made a horrible decision and lived with the consequences. But now, this wasn't just a one-time mistake. It was a pattern. The team developed the old rolls of film. Image after image showed children, blurry, distant, unaware they were being photographed. Some looked confused. Some were sleeping. A few had their backs turned. In most of them, Clara was not present. But in one photo, a small boy, maybe 5 years old, stood holding the same teddy bear Emily had. Only this one had different initials stitched on the paw. LT. The photo was dated October 2001. And in the background, faint but unmistakable, was the blue and yellow canvas of a traveling fair tent. Detective Carla Rains reopened the file under a new task force, Operation Echo. The FBI was brought in. Old carnival worker registries were reviewed. Missing child cases from fairground areas between 1995 and 2005 were cross-referenced with Clara's ledger. The deeper they dug, the darker the truth became. One former carnival employee came forward under anonymity. He claimed Clara was well known among the workers, not as a performer, but as a child whisperer. She volunteered at family tents, offered to watch children while parents rode rides, even set up a makeshift lost and found booth. She always smiled, the man said. People trusted her. No one ever thought to question where she went after the fair closed. Among the documents in Clara's box was a crumpled drawing, clearly done by a child. It showed 3 stick figures holding hands, 2 adults, 1 small child in the middle. Above the drawing, scrawled in childish handwriting, "Me and my first family. I hope they miss me." There was no name, just a date, 1999. What Clara Hutchins had done was not just abduction. It was identity erasure. Children given new names, false memories, different birthdays. Each one taken not for money, not for trafficking, but for something far more chilling, to rebuild the life she lost. Over and over again. One of the letters in Clara's ledger led investigators to a foster care home in Missouri. There, they found a woman, now 28 years old, who had always wondered why she had no birth certificate until the age of 7. Her name was Leah, but a quick fingerprint comparison revealed something shocking. She was Lydia Thompson, who had vanished in Kentucky in 1998, reported missing from a crowded flea market. Her family had mourned her for years. She had been living 2 states away under a new identity, raised by distant friends of Clara's. When shown a photo of Emily Carter, she gasped. "I know her," she said. "We were in a room once with toys and cameras." So far, 3 more children had been found. All grown now, all carrying false names, false memories, and lives that were built on sand. But all alive. Their stories would take years to unpack. Therapy, legal processes, rebuilding trust. But something else lingered, a final mystery. One of the VHS tapes in Clara's collection was unmarked. It had been tucked at the bottom of the box. When investigators played it, the screen crackled. Then a dimly lit room, just a lamp, a voice behind the camera, Clara's. She whispered, "If you're watching this, then I'm gone." And that means someone is finally asking the right questions. She adjusts the camera, then points it at a small child curled up under a quilt. "I named him Nathan," she says softly. "He never cried. Not once. Not even when I first brought him home." Then the screen goes black. Nathan was never mentioned in her files. There was no record of his age, his real name, or when she took him. And he had never been found. One child is still missing. His name is unknown. And time is running out. Emily Carter came home. 3 others found their names again. But somewhere out there, one more waits in silence. Forgotten, unclaimed, still missing. If you like this story and wish to see more stories like this, please like, subscribe, and ring that bell. See you tomorrow.